Okay, welcome everyone. We are recording this session tonight. We are excited to have Kym Whitish. She's a designated broker and a very good friend of mine. We actually met at the Northwest Independent Brokers Association, I think a couple years ago. Kym and I connected, and in the last year we've been trying to refer more business to each other. And some of you have talked with Kym, so if you're on the call, I'm sure she'd love to hear your voice, but we don't have enough time to talk that way with Kym. We have a lot to cover today. There's some changes that came out, and I do want to get a good understanding with Kym how she runs her business, and hopefully this will give you guys some indication of when to refer, when to call her, when to contact her, and then how to kind of connect with her. So by the end of the session, you'll know a little bit more about what she does and how she handles her business, what she does do, and then what she does not do. There's her contact information. That's her face. She's on the phone right now. Kym, I'm going to just jump right in if you don't mind. Show them a few examples of why we do not do property management, and then I'll turn it over to you where you can just answer a few questions. We can have a little
sure.
If you don't mind. So that's Kym.
Absolutely.
That's her company. She is the designated broker. We used to refer a lot of people, a lot of our rentals and our property management needs over to Windermere. And they have a property management company that's very big up in Bellevue. And we started doing a lot of that. And then what happened is the designated broker personally took some of the leads I gave him at the time, and this was a few years ago, and was basically running the property management. And then instead of giving me back the listing when they wanted to sell, he ended up taking the listing himself. He upset the relationship. And that's when I started hunting for other really good property managers. So I work with Kym Whitish. All the referrals that I give to somebody with property management would be going to her, along with another property manager that handles downtown Tacoma specifically. That's something that Kym doesn't want to do. And also downtown Seattle. We have a different person that we use for that. If you're on a cell phone, you can mute your line. That would be great. Okay. The other thing I want to go to is show you an example. I just got this text message today. So you can see this text message. I haven't received any payments from her. Did you speak with her? Did you give notice to her? These are all things, if you get a text message from somebody like that, you need to refer this to a property manager. Shannon, do you mind muting some people? There we go. The last month balance was $27.30. This month's rent's $25.95. Also, she needs to pay the water bill.
What's up?
So we need to make sure that if you're getting text messages like this, we do not handle property management at Best Choice Realty. We do not collect rent. We do not screen tenants. That's not what we do. We are mainly focused on helping buyers buy and sellers sell. We do not do property management. So this would be a text message where we would want to refer that off to somebody. Another example that we received today would be notice of rescheduled inspection. This is about Section 8. This is a letter that came to a client. This is a compliance with housing. They have certain appointments and inspections that they have to attend. Kym, maybe you can speak to this one. Is this the reason why you don't do the City of Seattle for these?
No, so this is actually a housing voucher program. Section 8 is in every city and every county in Washington State. We do handle Section 8 tenancies, which are paid through the HUD program. City of Seattle just has their own specific requirements and laws for landlords. It's different from the Section 8 program.
Okay, so that's good to know. See, this kind of thing I don't handle. This is not something that we do at Best Choice Realty. So these would be also indicators if your client is giving you these types of notices saying, hey, can you help me with this? You really need to be referring this out. Next slide. This is a notice of unpaid utility assessments where the homeowner is asking you as the real estate broker to handle their assessments or late fees. That's not something that we do. Again, a property manager, am I right, Kym, would handle collecting on these types of amounts.
So this is actually not a tenant situation. This is an owner, and this is an association. Morris Management does homeowner associations. So this owner has not paid their water sewer bill and is getting, you know, a notice from the association that they need to be paying that, or it's going to be assessed to their property tax. It's going to lean onto their property. So they may have a tenant in here that's supposed to pay this, but that would be dictated via their lease if they have one.
Ask more questions, I think is what Kym is saying. Ask more questions about
Yes.
who these things are. That's good. Next slide. That's the next, keep going. Next slide. This is the new changes that came out. This is the new lease rental agreement. So before I turn it over to Kym, there was not very many changes to the lease rental agreement, but it is only 6 pages long. And I'm going to turn it over to Kym right now to kind of explain her rental agreement and why you should when you should use the MLS one and maybe when you shouldn't. But I would say, as a designated broker for a real estate firm that does not handle property management, I only want to see you guys using not using even the 68. You really should be using something else that a property manager prepares or an attorney prepares or the landlord or owner prepares. We shouldn't be using Form 68. Kym will give you some explanation on that because it's not very detailed. Her document is much larger that encompasses a lot more. We only use in our firm 65A and 65B, which are changes. They've been changed slightly to talk about the fire alarms and things like that need to be present on the property. They didn't make any changes really to 65A and 65B. We are looking for those short-term tenancy situations. We need those documents from a residential or commercial. Commercial leases are separate, obviously, but for residential property management, we do not handle that, and that needs to be dealt with the property manager. So I'll turn it over to you, Kym. If you can share with the group. We have several people on the phone call, and I am recording it as well today, about kind of a little bit of background about what you do and what kind of agreement you use, and maybe some commonly asked questions that you get that would help these guys.
Absolutely. So our business is about 95% property management. We do sales out of our office, but it is only with my family and friends or current existing investment clients that we have. We refer all of our business back to the agent that referred it to us when they do decide to sell. So that's kind of our business model and what we handle. With regards to the lease agreement, so the MLS lease agreement works in short-term situations, as Rochelle had indicated. My lease agreement was drafted by my attorney. It's updated almost on an annual basis, depending on which laws have passed. And any new county or city ordinances that have passed, because those are really important. You can get yourself in a situation where your lease doesn't cover something that you then put the landlord in a position to be liable for. Mm-hmm. So I have not ever used this lease.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Maybe a 30-day rent back, right? In residential, this would be probably the most.
Exactly. Exactly. I wouldn't use this for any more than, an owner wants to rent it for, a couple of months so that they can move out of state, or, you've got somebody who wants to occupy early and they can't close for a few months, and that's your situation. My rental agreement, the boilerplate base of my rent agreement is 19 pages. Then I have addenda for pets, mold, carbon monoxide and and smoke detectors, as well as drug activity. I mean, there's just so much in the landlord-tenant law. Over 80 sections of 5812 deals with landlord-tenant law. So it's really important that you talk with somebody who knows what they're doing. There's nothing in this MLS form about military personnel who, if you do any business in the Everett area or Kitsap County, is very important, because those individuals get orders to leave and they can break their lease at any time. So it's really important to understand what you're getting yourself into. Like I said, there's a whole section of the law that deals with residential landlord tenants, and your owner can get in a lot of trouble if they don't know what they're doing. So I was just scrolling through the changes made.
Was I right though, Kim? You only like to see outline areas, no downtown Seattle and no to downtown Tacoma, right? You pretty much.
Correct. So we service Snohomish County, King County, and Kitsap County, and I do not service the city of Seattle. So I will not take on any properties inside the city limits because I don't want to deal with city of Seattle, though they have some very, very strict regulations that I just don't want to become an expert on. So I've eliminated that. We have another agent that is in our association that handles downtown Seattle, so that's great. I refer to her as well.
Yeah,
but I do all of Snohomish County, King County, eastward out to Snoqualmie or North Bend, down into Renton, and then I do all of Kitsap County. And I do currently have a property down in Lewis County, although I take those on a case-by-case basis, depending on the property. So it's quite the drive.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? You live up in, is that where you're from?
Our office is in Monroe. That is correct. Yep, our office is in Monroe. And we also have it's like a satellite office, not advertised satellite. It's where I do business when I'm over in Kitsap County, where our tenants can actually meet me if they want to, but it's not an actual office for the Department of Licensing, if that makes sense.
Nice, like a branch then. Awesome. So you tell us a little bit about yourself as far as your background. How did you get into property management?
So I am actually a landlord as well. I own 5 rental houses and quite a few lots that are RV. Those are quite popular right now, RV lots where we rent RV spaces. So I got into this business, frankly, after I went to graduate school for something completely different. And my mom called me and had a tenant she had to evict, and it was a huge nightmare. And she's like, I think you should help me permanently. So that's kind of how it happened, as I took over my family business, and then, which then in turn led to me handling, family, friends, and then, referrals. And then all of a sudden I was doing third-party fee management. So.
Okay. So tell me the difference between, if you don't mind, I know this probably is a basic question, Kim. What's the difference between a lease up and actually property managing?
Say that again. I'm sorry, you cut out.
A lease up, like where you just market it, and an actual property management.
So a lease up, how we define it, or what we service our clients with, is where we will market, find a tenant, screen them, place them, collect all the deposits and first month's rent and any fees that are needed to be paid. We put the tenant, move them in. We've got keys. We hand them the keys. We do the move-in inspection, and then we turn everything over to the owner at that point.
Okay.
Ongoing property management would be the collection of monthly rent, handling maintenance issues, doing property inspections, just overall maintaining the property. If there's, a windstorm and trees fall on the roof, we handle all that. And the owner just kind of gets an email update of what's going on. And kind of the terms of our agreement is a little different depending on the area and the owner, but it's pretty basic in that, we handle everything and we just let them know on a case-by-case basis what's going on.
Okay. What's kind of the fee? Is it based off of the size of the property? How do you charge, I guess is the question.
Yeah, so property management is charged based off of a monthly management fee that's a percentage of the rent collected. So if an owner, in my case, not every company is the same, but we charge based off rent collected. So there's no minimum fee. So if we don't collect rent, then we don't get paid. So our goals in the management of the property align directly with what the owner's goal is, and that's to get rent. We charge a lease-up fee depending on the property and the negotiating between the owner, anywhere from half a month to a full month's rent. And that is what we split with our referring agents.
Okay. So if I was to refer, so like I have one right now that's pretty complicated, Kim. I mean,
great.
Getting that set up with you. So
yeah, so you would just send me, obviously let the client know that you're going to pass their information on to me so they don't get some random call from a person that they don't know. And then we would just get in touch with them and kind of see what kind of services that they need and how we can assist them. And then once we establish the rent amount, I usually try to let the referring agent know, hey, here's what the rent is and here's how much the commission will be. So we base that based off of how much commission we make. So we split the commission with you.
Can you give me an example of the most recent one you did with Best Choice Realty and how that went? You don't mind?
Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. That was actually my fun property down in Lewis County. So really quaint little A-frame house on a landing strip with a, airplane hangar. Really great owner to work with. He was super, super good about getting everything done. You guys referred him to me. I gave him a call. We ended up meeting a couple weeks later. And the whole process to me went fairly well. He, got some work done at the house after I'd met him, gave him some information on what he needed to get done to get it rent ready. And we ended up getting it rented for about $300 more than he thought he could even get for it. So that was fantastic. And then as soon as it gets rented, we cut our check to the referring agent, and we're in constant contact, obviously, with the owner. And the moment that they indicate to us that they want to sell, we get back in touch with that agent who referred them, and that's all in a file in our system.
So that's as far as the paperwork goes, Kym. I mean, you're the designated broker, so you're responsible for all the paperwork that is associated with that, and then we just have to do the referral check that comes in. So it's a nice check that our agent made on that for not having to do the paperwork and all the legwork on it. You made, he
exactly
got a nice paycheck, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was bad for just handing me a phone number.
No, especially how easy it is to work with you. So how do you best give me some scenarios of where you'd want the agents to call you and where you would say, you know what, you need to figure that out. I'm just going to be upfront about what you take on.
So if you've got one thing that I want to just specify is we do not assist renters, meaning tenants or buyers. So if you have a buyer client who's looking to move here from out of state or to a new area and they need a rental, that is not what we do. In property management on the residential side, buyers do not have representation. So they essentially just have to go online, find the property they want. Each management company has their own forms and their own, application process that tenant will have to go through specifically with that management company. So I can't go to another management company and say, well, I have this great tenant. Can you put them in this property for me? Here's all their stuff. We don't do that. And that's not something that is part of property management in the residential world here in Washington state. It's different in other states, but in Washington, this is how it is. So if you have a person who's looking to rent somewhere, I can certainly provide advice on areas that are great to rent in, depending on, school district and that sort of things. I'm knowledgeable in that regard, but I don't know a lot of information about like who's renting what properties unless I go jump on, realtor.com or Craigslist or Trulia or Zillow or, all those sites.
You're just telling them the best place
don't do
rentals.com or Zillow or where else? Where are you telling these
people? I mean, we advertise on like 20 different sites. You'd be shocked to know. I mean, apartments.com have house listings on it. It's very strange. Trulia is a pretty popular site. Zillow's obviously very popular. Okay. And then obviously, you can get things off the MLS. They're pretty far and few between. The MLS is not geared to renting. And so their processes and systems that they require us to do don't align with how property management works. So not a lot of properties are on the MLS. Higher end properties will be most likely, but lower end properties, under $2,000 a month are just not going to be on the MLS. Normally. Can't say not always, but not normally.
Okay.
And then if you've got a client that is a seller client, their home isn't selling, they want to rent, we can certainly give them information on how much their property could rent for. If you're working with a investor buyer who's looking to buy a rental house or duplex or a sixplex or whatever they want to buy, feel free to reach out via text, phone call, or email to me. I'm happy to give your client and or you information about how much those properties could rent for. That's a huge thing, and that will help you look like an expert, in the field, is knowing, hey, this is what it will rent for. You don't want your client to buy something they think they can get $2,000 a month and they can really get $1,500.
Right. So you can send her a quick text. She loves that. I just found out that she's okay with me doing that. I didn't want to step on her toes, but I get asked that a lot. Like, what do you think?
Yes, text is fine.
Yeah. Awesome. So we kind of covered that. Let me see. Do you still have leasing agents that you have part-time that work for your company?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And they just do showings.
Okay, good. So you've got
So
some.
we're all electronic. So everything, all of our applicants are pre-screened, and then we do showings. They have to actually provide us with copies of ID. It's a pretty lengthy process. So it's all about agent safety, as you know. In sales, it's the same way in management. We're not going to go meet some random person at a property to show it to them. So we've got a lot of information. I've never had any issues, to date with, showing a property to somebody that was sketchy. So we're pretty good about pre-screening everybody.
Good. Awesome. Jerry Kay, do you have some questions for Kym? Jerry Kay's got more experience in property management than I do. Hey, Kym.
That's perfect.
Not specifically for Kym. I would imagine that the people on the call are wondering about the new timelines and dates and stuff. Although I don't want them to know all of that because we're not supposed to do property management. So.
Yeah, true. Can you give them a high level on what the changes, if there were any, on the rental?
Yes. So the most significant change made in the recent House bill that passed is the pay or vacate notice went from 3 days to 14 days. There are specific steps in which a landlord or manager must take in order for that to be effective. And unlike it used to be in 3 days, if you didn't serve it correctly in 3 days, you could reserve it in 3 days and you're only out 6 days or 7 maybe. Now it's 14 days service, must be done in a certain manner, and there must be specific information on that notice that you send to the tenant that alerts them of where they can get that information in another language if they need it, and where they can find legal advice if they need it. So it's really important that you, if nothing else, talk to a property manager before you go and do property management and try to serve somebody with a notice.
Okay.
So that's
good.
a big change that just came through. Just had to change all my lease agreements. It's effective in July, end of July.
Wow. That is big. So, we can manage our own properties, just like you have, Kym, in the past. And I used to have rentals, but now I do not. But I know some people on the call do have investment properties that they turn into rentals. So those they do apply to you, and you do need to get yourself up to date with maybe a class. They have classes they're offering throughout the next couple months, and I'll get that information out to you guys who are property managers by yourselves.
And just so you know too, we do discount our fees for agents who have their own personal properties as rentals. So if you're, if you're a real estate agent, we understand that you're in the business, you kind of get it. Maybe you want to do some things yourself. So we do work with other real estate agents who just don't want to do this full time and don't want to deal with tenants. So we do work with those people as well. So give me a call and we can always talk.
Well, maybe I'll get back in, Kym.
You need to. They're good investments. You can make a lot of money, but.
Yeah, I just don't want the hassle. I've been there, done that. Before '08, I sold off my investment properties. What about, let's see, what did we not cover? Any other websites that you would say for residential agents that would be helpful for us to learn how to, the new laws or anything like that you would recommend?
Well, with regard to the landlord-tenant law, the residential landlord-tenant law, that's 58 to 18, I think it is. So I would just get on the Washington State Legislature page and read up as much as you can. There's also changes in the manner in which you can screen a tenant. So if you are doing screening for a landlord, meaning you're finding the tenant, you're running their background check and their credit, and then you're approving or not approving them, that law has changed. And that is a big change. Seattle adopted an even more strict change than the Washington State did. But just to give you an idea, we can no longer deny an applicant because they have a criminal history. It's a really big deal, and there is a lot of lawsuits happening right now against landlords who denied an applicant because of a criminal background check that came back and they were not allowed to.
Wow.
So that's a huge thing. Yeah. And you could put yourself in a position where you've rented the house to somebody else. You go through a lawsuit. You got to you're going to pay someone. You're either going to pay the person that filed the lawsuit, or you're going to pay your current tenant to get out so the new person can get back in. So it's a big deal.
Wow. Do you deal with like paint and carpet? Do you advise on some of those things with, landlords? They're like, should I replace the carpet? Do you kind of give them kind of a rough allowance amount that they should consider for maintenance of the property?
Yeah, so we keep a $500 amount on hand from our landlords that we pay for maintenance issues out of.
Okay.
But as far as like carpet replacement, that it kind of depends on the, the wear and tear of it. You can only, take out of a tenant's security deposit what is over normal wear and tear. And a carpet in a rental usually has a lifespan of about 5 years. So it's really hard. I don't typically have owners replacing carpet. I get rid of carpet as much as possible and tell them to put in, hard floors, hard surface floors. We're a pet friendly company, and I try to get all my owners to be pet friendly because frankly, they do less damage than children sometimes. So, it kind of depends on the property and the owner, and if it's an A, B, or C property, frankly.
Okay.
So some owners don't want to do any touch up. New tenant moves in. We're just going to make notes of all the places that need paint, that sort of thing. So we try to manage based off what the owner's goal is.
Okay. So the best thing to do then, Kym, if I had somebody, was just to give you a call and say, hey, I have an investor that's bought a investment property. The guy lives in Colorado. And then you would then contact my client and talk with him about how you manage and your fees. Is that how it works?
Exactly. And you'll get an email from us saying, hey, we reached out to your, client. Here's the process. For example, the person that I just recently worked with in your office, I think I probably sent him about 5 or 6 emails throughout the course of the 6 months while the owner was prepping the property, just to keep them informed of what's going on. Awesome.
Super. Any other questions? We're almost up on our half an hour, Kym. See how fast it goes?
That was fast.
It goes by really fast. And then the referral fee that we agreed on, what was that amount? For the
oh gosh, you're going to ask me that? I think I believe we split our fee, so it's 25% of 1 month's rent.
That's what I wrote down. So we're on the same page.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so
I was like,
great.
I know how much I make, so I want to make sure you make something too.
No, it's okay. I just want to make sure it's fair for everybody and equitable. And I think it's a good relationship. I think it's the constant contact and the follow-up that I think is really good. But you expressed to me that some of these, calls were just people didn't understand what you did and how you handle your business. So I think I get a better understanding just talking with you today about what you will take and what you won't take. Anything else
perfect.
to the group that I've got here? Any other words of wisdom? Got a bunch of residential words.
I know. Look, my opinion is if you don't want to be an expert in this field, then refer it to someone else. It's similar to commercial real estate or, buying an apartment building. It's just not the same thing. And, if you want to become an expert, then by all means, I'm happy to share some information. But if that's not the direction you want your business to go, then it's not rewarding. It's a constant battle. I made one of my tenants cry the other day. I mean, there's nothing nice about it. You really have to have almost a nasty personality to do this business. It can be grotesque, disgusting. It's very rarely rewarding, I have to be honest. So,
but you're selling me. And Jerry Kay's nodding her head.
Right? Am I? Does everyone want to be a manager now?
Yeah, not really. No.
So that's my opinion. I could sit down with you guys and have a cocktail and give you 50 different reasons why I've heard a tenant couldn't pay rent, and none of them were actually true. So it's just a horrible, it's not rewarding to do this. And, you get it from both sides. The owner wants to make as much money as possible, and the tenant wants to pay as little rent as possible. And you're in the catch-22 always. No one wants to do maintenance work because it costs money, and the tenant wants you to, unclog their toilet. I mean, like I said, I could go on for hours with a cocktail, of course, about
yes,
this.
of course. Well, we won't put you. Next time we'll do the cocktail hour in my office. We'll make that happen.
There you go.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I think that's all I've got for tonight. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. You've got Kim's contact information, her office and her cell. And then it's NW Premier Homes and Lands LLC. She's a designated broker, so she's kind of like my partner in crime, I guess, Kim. So if you have any that are related to property management or rentals, or even marketing rentals, I didn't know you actually took on some of the lease ups. You're okay doing that?
Yes. So we just, I used to not want to do those. I would only do it in combination with management, but we actually will do the lease ups now. We have a completely different rental agreement. I have to tell you, for those, I do not hand my very expensive rental agreement over to an owner who doesn't want to use us.
Sure.
But it encompasses what they need. It's just not as inclusive. It doesn't include things like reinspection charges and things that we charge a tenant if we don't get into the property, or, vicious animals, or, various things that are specific to being a manager. I don't know many owners that even go to their properties and look at them. So, it probably wouldn't apply to them, frankly. I mean, I've taken over management of properties 5 years, a tenant's been, and their owner's never been inside.
Wow. Yeah. And that's the kind of person you want, somebody that can handle and take it from start to finish. So that's great.
Yeah. But we're happy to do lease ups. We do those all the time. So.
And lease ups, just so you guys know, we could do lease ups at Best Choice, but we don't choose to do those. They're kind of a pain, because then you get in it's like they have to screen, and then there's other things you have to be concerned about. So the moment you start, we can market, and that's what a lease up is putting it on the MLS. But that's not all what a property owner will usually want. They'll usually want more. So Kym will have to help you guys with some of the ones that want more. They want to have their property managed or their screenings done, that stuff. You guys have to say no to that. We're not licensed to do that, nor do we have insurance to cover that. And it's not in your brokerage contract where you can do residential property management. So those need to go to somebody else, and hopefully you'll give Kym a shout when those opportunities come, so that you guys, it's a win-win. It's a win-win for Kym and also for you. So thank you for taking the time, Kym. I appreciate your last minute jump on the call. Chris, did you have anything else to share? Chris Somerville, it's property management. So he also has somebody down in the city of Tacoma if you need somebody that he could refer to. Other than that, have a great week, you guys, and we'll talk to you next Monday.
Thanks a lot, Rochelle.
Thanks, Kym.
All right, bye-bye.